Uncle Li said that his family had no enemies, but the villagers' words were different. The family in front of Li's house told us that Li Tong's grandfather was a secretary in the village when he was young, and he had a good character and often helped people, but Li Tong's grandmother had a bad mouth and often quarreled with others over trivial matters, and basically offended everyone in the village. We wanted to ask in detail what Li Tong's grandmother had done, but the villagers pointed to Li's house with a white cloth hanging and waved their hands without saying a word, meaning that the dead were the biggest. Colleagues privately discussed that when they found Li Tong's grandparents to take a record overnight yesterday, Li Tong's grandmother, who was still alive, was indeed a bit fierce, and kept dragging them to catch an old man surnamed Zhang, insisting that it was the other party who killed. I asked my colleagues what actually happened. My colleague said that it was actually because the dog raised by the Zhang family scared the children, and the old lady dragged the children to make trouble at the door, forcing the other party to apologize. The old lady herself might also feel guilty and offended. They had already checked the old man's surname Zhang, and the old man had bad legs and feet, and his home was next to the village secretary's house. He couldn't kill two children silently. Li Tong's grandmother died, and we could hardly ask her more things from others. But the villagers also mentioned that Li Tong's father also had a lot of enemies. This person was a famous gangster in the 10 miles and 8 villages when he was young, and he fought everywhere, and many times people came to seek revenge. My colleagues recorded the names of these people in detail, and I noticed a boy hiding behind his mother and looking at us curiously, so I went up and talked. "Little friend, do you know Li Tong?" The boy answered arrogantly, "Who doesn't know her? She is a rich second generation, holding a mobile phone every day." I always thought that Li Tong's parents were just ordinary migrant workers, but it turned out that their conditions were also enviable in this mountain village. I asked the boy if he knew who Li Tong was close to recently. The boy said, "Just play with us," and came over to pull my mask. I subconsciously flashed back, and the boy laughed and said, "Why are your masks different from ours? They look so advanced." I smiled and took out a few masks from my bag and said, "Then Uncle will ask you a few things, you answer me and I will give them to you, okay?" The boy looked at me with a very strange look and said, "Can you not talk in that tone of coaxing children?" I was speechless for a while. The children in this village are basically left behind children, and the grandparents take care of them. Most of them are spoiled and have no communication. The children are easy to be like this, looking rude, but actually sensitive and proud. Thinking of Li Tong and her brother, I felt a little sad. Were they like this too, growing up wild in the mountain village, growing up with alert and sensitive eyes too early, and even ending their short lives before they had time to see the outside world? The boy told us that the last time he saw Li Tong and her brother was on the afternoon of July 26th. He saw the two children playing games with a girl named Wu Qian at the door of their house, greeted them, and went home to do homework. He remembered very clearly, because that night the two old people in Li's family said that the children were gone, and the whole village went out to look for them overnight. We went to the school and found the girl named Wu Qian that the boy said. The little girl said that Li Tong's family bought her a new small mobile phone that day, and the three of them played a little game at the door of the house, and then went back. I asked her if she saw where Li Tong and her brother went. She showed a scared look and said that she didn't pay attention, because they quarreled that day. They agreed that one person would play once, but Li Tong refused to let me play. She said she was angry and scolded Li Tong, but Li Tong was very fierce, and the siblings scolded her and beat her, and then left with the phone. As she said, she cried, and intermittently sobbed and said, "I'm sorry, and it's all my fault." The policewoman quickly comforted her and took out some snacks from her pocket and gave them to her. The timeline we could find was interrupted here, and the two children were likely to be killed after they parted with her. I wanted to ask something more, but I couldn't ask any more. The investigation fell into a deadlock again.